Hi Jenny, welcome to the Rowover podcast. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, all right. So we've got you on today to sort of discuss what you've been doing over the last 6 months, over the last year, or over your sort of rowing career, really. And you've sort of built up to a point where now you're an ambassador for TASS, and you're on the Performance Sculling Academy as well.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
So do you want to tell me a little bit about that? A little bit about
Yeah,
that?
of course. Yeah, so I've been representing Brooks. This is my fourth season representing Brooks.
Mhm.
And last year, they introduced this rule for all female rowers to scull at their first November trials.
Mhm.
And so I went in a single and it went pretty well. I came sixth. And then did final trials in a single as well. And then got an invite to the Performance Sculling Academy, which is kind of like a GB development sort of academy for scullers outside the team,
Yeah.
and just try and help them sort of learn everything they need to make the step into Caversham, and whilst representing the club that you're from. So it's been really good because I'm representing Brooks. I still get to row and race with Brooks as well. So I'm doing Weehawk tomorrow in an 8, which is good fun. And also whilst I was at Brooks and after that set of trials, I was nominated for TASS.
Mhm.
And then I was part of TASS until the November trials just gone, where I was then put onto the world class program, which is funded by the National Lottery. And once you get onto that, you get taken off TASS. You have a 3-month sort of period where you transition off. And during that time, they were looking for some athlete representatives of TASS, and they needed one alumni rep. So I went for that role. And I got it, which was cool. And I went to London a few weeks ago for some training. And basically, I'm allowed to do a project of my choice. And I get to work with athletes from all around the country, sort of finding out what they like about TAS and what it could improve. We're going to have regular meetings all together and meet up sort of every maybe 6 months or so as well again. But my project area of interest is in athlete transition, because I think quite a lot of athletes have struggled transitioning out of sport into the real world, as I can imagine you've found maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
And sort of navigating that, like I've had friends who've really struggled, like with the mental health, having stopped rowing, for example.
Mhm.
And then on the flip side, also transitioning onto the world class program. Like I went from TASS onto the world class program, and then I fractured my rib within the first like 10 days,
Yeah.
which was obviously pretty annoying. And I was thinking if there was something TASS could do to help athletes with that, like physio, S&C, lifestyle support, all of that, and sort of manage that transition a bit better. So I'm going to be working on that alongside some people from TASS and sort of some like national governing bodies and different TASS centres across the country. But yeah, it's been really fun, and done my like adult mental health course and a safeguarding course, and done a personal development lifestyle course. So lots of good opportunities have come with it, and
Yeah.
I've met lots of great people.
Could we sort of wheel back a little bit and just sort of talk about what TASS is and what that means? So TASS is
Yeah.
the Talented Athletes Scholarship Scheme.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
correct. And it basically like supports athletes who've been nominated by the national governing body as somebody who's got potential to maybe go to the Olympics or represent their country. And it's in the form of support of physio, strength and conditioning, and lifestyle support, as well as
Mhm.
sports psychology as well. So it's really good. It really helped me out last year. Sort of things like I needed to hand in a notice at work, and I wanted some help with how to write that. So I reached out to her then, and when things were getting a bit too busy and hectic, I sat down with her, and she also helped me sort of realize what my goals were in rowing,
Mhm.
which was really helpful. And then the strength and conditioning was just sort of extra support that sort of made me a bit more robust and stronger, to row better, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been really good, really helpful, and it helps people. It's got like over 500 athletes across the country,
Mhm.
and it helps people from all different sports.
Is
So
that
the other
500 within rowing or 500?
uh, no, all sports. So there's
Okay.
like loads of different athletes, lots of different sports.
Mhm.
So the other athlete representatives that I'm working with, one of them is a climber, one of them is a triple jumper, and one of them does boccia, and another one plays volleyball. So it's all very different. So it's interesting meeting them and finding out about sort of their sports and their stories.
Of course, yeah. And so how do you think that sort of led on to what as an alumni sort of representative, how does that work and how do you work with sort of current athletes?
Yeah, well, for me, I guess I experienced TASS for over a year, so I'm able to sort of think about what went well for me and what could be improved. And like TASS are really open to those conversations, and they want to find out sort of what worked and what didn't, and the experiences that I had.
Yeah.
So I can use them, and I'm obviously still very much connected with all the athletes at Brooks who are on TASS, and a lot of the scullers at the Performance Sculling Academy are on TASS as well.
Mhm.
So I can find out from them like how it's all going, and I'm probably going to organise some coffee mornings with them. I'm still in contact with the head of TASS at Brooks. So yeah, just having those conversations, seeing how they're finding it, seeing what things they would quite like to get out of TASS, just to keep improving it really.
Yeah, of course. And do you sort of have a site? So you've talked about how you want to move and sort of work on this transition area. What sort of things would you recommend for athletes that are going through transition at the moment?
Well, I think yeah, like transitions are really scary times, I think.
Mm.
So I think, you've got to it's a lot of people maybe associate their life with their sport and like their personality and their identity with their sport.
Mhm.
But I think that TASS and like lifestyle support and people like that can really help you work out who you are outside of your sport. So that when you leave, you can think, oh, I'm not just a rower. I'm like, I know I'm kind and I'm fun and I like, I don't know, knitting or whatever other things you like doing, and sort of like find something else you love. Because I think it's difficult when like you love your sport so much, like filling that gap, and like you get all these endorphins from the sport, you've socialized with your friends, you have to turn up to somewhere every single day. Like if you weren't there, people would notice. So it's, things it could get, getting out of bed every day and just turning up, like if you're not there, people know. So suddenly
Mm.
no, you're not accountable for anyone anymore. So you've got to like be accountable for yourself. So I think just working out those sort of strategies to deal with that, thinking about who you are outside of the sport. You're not just an athlete, like you're many things, and finding some other things you enjoy and sort of preparing for that transition. I mean, sometimes people can't, like sometimes an injury or deselection pushes you out, and that can be really difficult. So it's definitely about reaching out to people that care about you and the professionals that can help in that situation. But if you can sort of prepare for a retirement,
Mm.
then maybe getting work experience or reaching out to people in your network and just sort of working out really who you are and what you might like to do outside of your sport.
Yeah, of course. And you, as someone that's come out of Brooks and you sort of finished your degree at Brooks now, is that right?
Yes,
Um,
that's right.
are you so now you're working with TASS and you're doing a few other things on the side. How do you think that has helped you and sort of set you up for potentially moving on after your rowing career?
Yeah, I think it's been good. So like I'm currently managing the social media of I went to get my eyebrows done and then ended up chatting to her, and then I ended up getting a job as her social media lady. So that's been fun. So I'm doing a bit of that. I did a marketing degree at Brooks. So I'm putting that into action a little bit, and then working with TASS as well. So it's really good because through TASS I'm getting a lot of qualifications that will set me up for a career after sport. And I'm also expanding my network and sort of growing skills in, just like networking and creativity and a bit of marketing. So sort of adding strings to my bow that like touch wood, sport doesn't end for me anytime soon, but if it
Yeah.
did, like I know I'd be all right. So it's quite nice just having that sort of reassurance that I can do other things. And I also I worked last year as alongside my degree. So I have that sort of experience that if I
Mhm.
needed to, I could, my boss always said there, like, you can always come back and get a job here if it all
Yeah.
goes wrong. So it's nice having that. It sort of makes me feel a bit more relaxed about rowing because
Mhm.
I know I have something to fall back on.
But alongside the idea of we're sort of talking about quite a separation between sport and work. What's can you sort of leverage from your sporting experience to use to push forwards into your career?
Oh yeah, a lot. Like I think people skills is a big one. Like I've rode in, eights with like eight different personalities.
Yeah.
And it's like working out how to get the best out of everyone around you. And it's things like dealing with setbacks and failures. Like, I fractured my rib at like a pretty critical part of my career where like I could have potentially been in the mix for Paris, but obviously was
Mhm.
taken out because of that. And like dealing with that disappointment and getting back up on my feet again kind of thing. And like I remember my first year of Brooks, like I did bucks and then the next day I wasn't in the boat, and like just dealing with things like that and being at the
Yeah.
complete bottom end of the squad and just turning up at Wimbledon and doing it all in my single because all my boat was being subbed out in the eights, and like just feeling like absolutely terrible at rowing, but being like, oh, it's fine, I can keep going, like I can do this. So like getting through that, sort of the hard times is like really beneficial for the workplace.
Mhm.
And yeah, just like people skills, and I think like we're pretty goal orientated, like setting goals and reaching them. Like we want to win, we're competitive. I think they're all things that would really help in the workplace. So even if you don't have like loads of experience, you haven't had time to have a job, for example, you've learned all this stuff within your sport that will be really helpful.
Yeah, exactly. And sort of moving back towards rowing, I guess now then, how do you think those skills that you've learned from rowing has sort of pushed you into the place where you are now, where you're sort of at the Performance Sculling Academy and sort of your sights are set on sort of Paris, LA, kind of is that the goal?
Yeah, I think yeah, like LA was definitely the goal, and hopefully like a GB vest this year. And yeah, I think Brooks, it's just such an amazing place. Like when your own teammates are your biggest like role models, really. Like
Yeah.
I've just been surrounded by world champions my whole rowing career at Brooks. Like people who have won Henley multiple times, and I think, oh, I want to do. They can do that. Like I can do it too. We're doing the same training. So I think like that's really set me up for it.
Mm.
And sort of, I guess I've had like quite a few years now of training really hard. Like Brooks teaches you how to win. Like I think previous rowing clubs, like I learned how to row, then I learned how to race, but at Brooks, like I learned how to win. And I think that's got me to where I am now. And like I hadn't actually done that much sculling. Like I learned how to scull, and then I went to Brooks and swept for 3 years really.
Mhm.
Um, and then jumped in a single and was able to make it go fast just because of how Brooks has taught me how to race so hard. We've had these like nail biting races against like people in America and Germany and all sorts. And I've had to really push myself to the limit just to even get in the boat and then try and win the race. So I
Mhm.
think working that hard just teaches me how to race really hard. And then I was able to jump in a single and go quick because of that experience. So I think that sort of set me up for the Sculling Academy quite well. But now it's a bit different kind of training. Like now I'm training full time, so I'm doing like 3 sessions, like most days, 2 sessions sometimes, like 6 days a week. Whereas at Brooks you train like once or twice a day, but like really hard for those 2 sessions.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's different, but like it's been quite a good transition really. And I've been really enjoying it, so it's been
Yeah.
good.
And I was sort of going to ask about that transition from sweep to sculling. And you sort of started as a sculler, then went to sweep, and then back to sculling. What do you prefer? Is it sort of is your heart
I think,
in
yeah,
sculling
I
both?
haven't decided yet. I think at the moment I can make a single go faster than a pair. I haven't
Mhm.
been in a pair much, but put me in an eight and I'm fine. So I think like I've sort of thinking the best way for me to get into the team is to go in a single and try and race my way in that way. But then once I hopefully get there, I can say you can put me where you like, because I like both. Like I love sweeping. Like I think if somebody was like, what was your dream boat racing at the Olympics? Like would come to my mind, eight would probably come first. But obviously I love a double and a quad as well.
Mhm.
But I think, yeah, maybe I'm more natural at sculling. And it took me a while to sort of get the technique sorted with Brooks, with
Yeah.
the sweep. But I think, yeah, like they're both a lot of fun. And I think they've actually, for me, like personally, I found the benefit of doing both. It was quite tricky at first when I was in an eight like the whole season. And then I did April trials in a single, which went well, but then straight back in the eight. And then in
Yeah.
August, we had like a sculling camp, and I fell in, and like I was terrible at rowing. Like one of the coaches was like, there is so much I want to change about your stroke. And I wasn't allowed to like do the main sessions because I was just like paddling around, like trying to sort out what I was doing. Like I had no idea what I was doing. And luckily he said it's like he said I look like a different person now. So that's good. But it was quite hard going from sweep to sculling. But then I've recently jumped back in a sweep boat for Weehawr,
Yeah.
and it was actually a bit easier. So I was a bit worried that I'd have to go back to square one with the sweep as well, but it's been fine, like able to pick that up again pretty quick. but I think it's good to do both. Like I think I once went to the Netherlands to watch Tinker, my
Yeah.
friend trained in the Dutch team, and she obviously rode with us with Brooks for a while, and she was saying that like sometimes she's in a single, sometimes she's in a four, sometimes she's in the eight, and obviously she's racing in the four at the Olympics, but she's in all sorts of boats.
Mhm.
And I think actually obviously that works really well for them, and I think it's worked well for me as well. Like it's just a lot of fun doing both. You get a lot out of just like pushing really hard in an eight and then like working out how to, like it's quite, I guess, satisfying, like just you like moving the boat and like working out how, like just knowing that that boat speed is all you, but then
Yeah.
also it's amazing like working together with like seven other women, like, and making that boat go so fast and like doing it for your friends. Like I think I found it a bit hard at first to be like in like motivated for myself, because I think I'm like, oh, I'm going to push so hard because I want us to win. Like, I want my friends to win. Like they're doing it, they're pushing for me, I need to push for them. And then you're suddenly just pushing for yourself. So it's just like getting used to that. But I try and imagine that the rest of the girls are with me in the boat.
Yeah. And I guess it would be quite interesting to sort of see in some bigger races, people entering into lots of different divisions. So I guess you get that at races like Bucks, where you'll get someone in the sort of single, the double, the pair. Um,
Mhm.
and I think that'd be quite an interesting thing to sort of see up at higher level racing as well, sort of
Yeah,
world championships and world cups, and sort of seeing people crossing disciplines and seeing what they could do in across the board.
it'd be cool, and it'd be great. Like it'd be amazing to like, I don't know, do the quad and the eight at Henley, but I'd be
Mm.
busy. But like I don't know, like Imogen Grant, for example, she raced the boat race in an eight, and then obviously double world champion in the double. So
Yeah,
a
exactly.
lot of people have done both. Yeah.
Mhm. So sort of going back towards the sort of Sculling Academy at the moment, what's sort of the goal with that? What are the ideas behind it, and how was it set up? And could you sort of give us an insight into that?
Yeah, of course. So it's new this year.
Mhm.
Um, and so it's sort of like funded by British Rowing. And we're training out of Eton Excelsior Rowing Club, but we all represent our clubs.
Yeah.
So there's about 10 of us, five women and five men.
Hmm.
And the idea is to sort of set you up to getting into the team. And it's meant to be sort of like some of the top scullers from outside the country. Obviously, a lot of them are still at their clubs, such as Leander, for
Yeah.
example. But we train full time, and it's sort of setting you up to. So it's helping you get into the team, but it's also more helping you to do well when you get into the team.
Yeah.
So that, we do things like physio screening, and we get our lactates tested and all the things we'll be doing in the team, so that when we get there we can survive and perform well, rather
Yeah.
than get there and potentially get injured or underperform or be at the bottom and get kicked out as soon as we get in.
Hmm.
um so it's sort of setting us up for that, hopefully. And after Paris there's going to be, I guess, some people leaving or some people having a break, so hopefully there'll be a new sort of LA project coming in,
Yeah.
sort of setting that up. And we sort of follow pretty similar plan to what they do on the team. So we do a lot of rate 20 stuff on the water, and yeah, lots of miles and lots of strength training and things.
Mm.
We get like the S&C coaches and things. So it's been really good. But yeah, I sort of got told about it last year after the various trials, and said that it'd be a good place to go. And I think also within the UK, like a lot of people are going to sweep. And so like I think they're a bit worried about like, sculling like dying off a bit, because there's like not really very many events for anyone, for scullers at Henley, especially for women.
Mhm.
So I think that's why like a lot of people go to university and obviously want to be in the island or the Temple. So they do sweep and they stop doing sculling. So I think to try and like stop the sort of, like, to try and promote people to do more sculling, they've set this up as
Yeah.
well. And it's something for, so there's some other like performance academies that are similar to Start, like around the country. And I think it's people from there hopefully will transition onto this, and then hopefully into the team within the years to come. But it's sort of like we're working it out as we go along because it's new this year.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's been really good, and it's led by Helen Brown.
Okay. And is sort of sculling, so you mentioned sculling at uni, a lot of people go off to do sweep, but then you also get schools like Reading where that's what they do, that sculling is their thing. Do you think
Yeah.
we'll see more uni sort of cropping up that will focus on sculling?
Maybe, yeah, because I think that, I can imagine that Henley Regatta will probably start to introduce more sculling events
Mhm.
for students, maybe. So I think, yeah, more universities will probably focus on sculling. Like obviously, Reading is doing a great job at sculling at the moment.
Mhm.
They just focus on sculling, not sweep. But then I guess like places like Brooks will probably always focus on sweep, really, because you don't want to sort of like that's their speciality, and I think it works for such a big program.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be nice to see like more universities doing sculling for sure.
And what do you think it is? So come the Olympics, or we've obviously got the well, come LA Olympics, they're bringing in the beach sprints, and that's obviously a big sculling based event. Is that sort of a potential pathway for sculling, you think?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think definitely like a lot of people who've like done well at sculling have sort of been asked to give beach sprints a try. I think there's maybe less seats in beach sprints at the moment. I think there's maybe like 2 seats for women and 2 for men or something.
Mhm.
So I think like the top end scullers will probably still try and go down the mainstream sculling route, but I think it's
Yeah.
definitely like a really good option, like to give it a go. And obviously it's a quite a different sport. Like they might not necessarily be good at it. If they're good on the water, flat conditions, they might not be very good on the sea, but you can imagine they'd probably be pretty good. So I think people will definitely give it a go. I tried
Would
it
you
once.
consider it?
Yeah, I definitely would. I think it sounds a lot of fun. Yeah, and honestly, I just would love to go to the Olympics. I wouldn't really mind which discipline of rowing.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't work out for mainstream rowing, then I of course would give beach sprints a go.
Do you think that ideology of um sort of flat water rowing being a bit of a priority, do you think that'll ever switch around? Do you think beach sprints will ever take
Yeah.
the spotlight?
I think it could, because I think beach sprints is a bit more sort of spectator friendly.
Mhm.
I feel like it has the potential to be quite cool and trendy. Like it's on the beach. Like I think it's exciting. Like it's
Yeah.
very unexpected and like so much can go wrong. And I can imagine them. I hope they don't, but maybe they'd phase out the Olympic sport of like mainstream rowing, like at
Mhm.
some point, and beach sprints could take over. But I think, yeah, a lot of sport depends on people watching it, and if people are more likely to watch beach sprints, then it's probably more likely to sort of grow. But yeah, I think it will definitely grow over the years to come, and maybe like a lot of good rowers will get involved in beach sprints. And maybe choose that over mainstream rowing. But I think at the moment, like this sort of cohort of rowers would probably focus on mainstream rowing
Yeah.
first and then do beach sprints maybe after they retire or something, because it's quite
And
hard to do both.
yeah, well, you
Yeah.
sort of mentioned how beach sprints is more spectator friendly and it's probably a bit more engaging for fans and even rowers as well. Do you think that's something like what aspects of that do you think we could bring over from beach sprints and bring it into rowing?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess like the actual sport's just quite different. Like rowing is a little bit more like, okay, the faster crew will most likely win. Like not
Mm.
that much can go wrong. Like
Yeah,
obviously sometimes it does, but with beach sprints, it's like, okay, this is quite you have to tactical, like you have to
yeah,
think about the wind and the waves and like there's also an element of running to it and things. But I don't know. I guess if it would be if there's a way to make rowing a bit trendier, I don't know what that would involve, but I've been thinking about it a lot, like how to grow rowing. Like, and I was thinking, like Formula One has its like Drive to Survive, and
yeah,
then suddenly, like obviously it was already a very popular sport, but people got really into it after watching that Netflix
yeah,
series. So maybe if there was something for rowing on Netflix,
yeah.
um, and if people got really into like following a particular athlete's journey, for example, and then they'd want to watch them, maybe that would help.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know what elements do you think we could bring in from beach sprints?
Well, I think the idea of sort of having, I know that in the US there's a beach sprints league, so that means that there's 2-on-2, and I don't know if it's every weekend or how it fully functions, but I know that there's a league that's beach sprints, and it sort of creates a table, and there's fixtures, and it's sort of
Yeah,
one-on-one, and I think that could be a really cool, exciting
that
way
would
of
be
sort of promoting the sport and
yeah,
basically getting more people involved because you sort of know what's coming. You can build a bit of suspense over the league table. And I think at the
yeah,
moment, rowing, like every race is its own individual thing. Like you can win Weehawk and then you'll go into whatever the first regatta is, and you're again just starting from stage one, and I think it'd be really cool to see a sort of table of results and sort of slowly build over the season.
Definitely, you should create that. That would be so cool. Yeah, and like you
Um,
can like the boat race, people bet on Oxford and Cambridge, and like people who don't know anything about rowing are like, oh, that's like the biggest part of rowing. They're like the best rowers in the world, and like obviously they're very good. But like you could have like Brooks v Leander fixture, and like people might bet on that. Like it would be
yeah,
like really exciting, or like Brooks, Cambridge, Oxford, Leander, like Thames, like I don't know, like in some kind of little league, like that would be really cool.
yeah, and I think the closest we have to that probably is the fixtures at the moment, and I guess you
Yeah,
could kind of like manually draw up the league, but not everyone races each other, and I
I
think there's
know,
just a lot of potential there that's potentially missed, and I think it could
100%.
just be about like the level of work needed to put in to get it done. Um, so I think it'd be a really great opportunity to sort of try and invest in that. And then I
Yeah.
know that clubs all over the place. So I'm at Marlow at the moment, and we did a mini fixture against Upper Thames the other day. And I think there's just so much potential for clubs to be involved in something. And I think there's a lot of um, hunger for that as well within the
Yeah.
rowing world, I think, especially when there's been no racing since
Yeah.
last
People just
year,
race,
really,
and you
until
race on the
this
driveway
weekend.
most years, so you may as well use it.
Hmm.
And like that
Yeah.
like local rivalry, like Upper Thames Marlow, like Leander Brooks, like that would be so exciting. It'd be cool to like get behind like the teams and like find out about their preparation and
Hmm.
like interview the coaches and the athletes and find out what their day-to-day lives are as well, like building into it.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I guess it's quite frustrating, I guess, because there's so many choices and so much option. And I guess it's a good thing that the sport has got so many directions to go in, and it's just a case of getting people to buy into that idea. And I guess we've sort of made that move towards beach sprints, which is sort of a bit more exciting, a bit more engaging for spectators. Um, but that's almost, I guess, it feels a bit like a cop out in some ways. It's like, here's this
Yeah.
thing that already exists, just do that instead. Um,
Yeah,
and I think
exactly.
there's so many people that are hungry for the sport of rowing as it is, like yourself and like so many others that are kind of missing out on this opportunity for growing the sport. And it is a bit annoying, I guess.
Yeah, it is. And like you think about like, like all Mark One, like junior rowing news, like they do really well because like people do want to like look at photos about rowing or they want to read up about they want to look at the reviews and the previews of
Mhm.
these various races. Like people are interested in it. So like there's definitely an opportunity for growth there.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Um, well, I think we sort of covered all the bases. I think we had a really good insight into TASS and what you're doing there and into the Performance Sculling Academy. And I tell you what let's finish up with just sort of going over what your favorite race is. Like,
Favorite race. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think, well, my favorite race, as in one that I've actually raced.
yeah.
Yeah, so my favorite race was our Henley final. And it was obviously like our whole year was building up to that. Like we'd had an amazing year, like we'd won like a lot of things. Like it was just all going really well. And it was really exciting. But like every race we'd finish and it'd be like, right, the job's not done yet. Like boats on the trailer, back to training. We've still got to win Henley. Like this
Yeah.
was the goal of the whole year. And like the previous year, the island, I wasn't in the A boat, but they'd lost to Brown in the semi-final. So there was just a real buzz amongst the women's team and the men's team, but like real buzz amongst us that we were like, we have to do this, like we have to win. And it was just so like amazing, the whole thing, but like it was all very nerve-wracking. And we were down off the start, and like we hadn't been down like off the start like all year really, other than in San Diego.
Mhm.
So that was like a shock. Like it was like there was like a tiny moment in my brain where I was like, oh no, like have we not like have we like I don't know,
Is it
could we
happening
not win?
again?
Is this happening? Like are we not going to win? Like oh,
Yeah.
and then like then we moved through them, and then obviously then they came back, and it was just like so close, and it just made me think that like every single bit of training was worth it. Like if we'd
Hmm.
won by like clear water, it would have been obviously cool, but like it wouldn't have been the same. Like it was like we won by canvas, so every single bit of training that each of us had done, like every rep in the gym, like every early morning, like every stroke, like was worth it. Like we just had done enough. Like it was just
Yeah.
like such a good feeling. And to like have that all that pressure and that expectation on us, and then to like achieve that was amazing. And then coming into like the all the Brooks like athletes and like support team, and like everybody, like there was 7 wins out of 7. So like being part of that was just felt like, you know, like the Super Saturday of the Olympics, like in 2012. It was just like unbelievable. So I think that whole experience was like definitely like gives me chills, like talking about it, like was 100% my favorite race.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast, and I'm sure we'll be in touch going forwards. We do have a little project in the works that we're hoping to kickstart that you'll be a part of. I'll sort of explain that a bit more later on. But thanks very much for coming on, and I look good luck tomorrow at Weehawk.
Thank you.